It looked like a war zone. It didn't look like a fire. It looked like bombs were dropped on us.
All right, dude. Yeah, let's get out of here. There's nothing we can do now, bro.
We had everything, like the sentimental things. Like, my mom passed away. I had only a few things of hers left.
All the stuff that's here is replaceable. People are not. So having the family is the most important thing.
How would you feel knowing your city was up in flames?
Homes are destroyed.
What would you take if you had seconds to evacuate your home during a fire? What would you do to help support thousands of displaced families during the greatest time of need? On this episode of The News and You, I speak with Vince Downey, principal of Calvary Christian School, which has been around since 1989 and was partially destroyed in the LA fires, and husband and wife Yealee and Chad Brokaw, who were displaced from their home but kicked into action by mobilising hundreds of volunteers to help their city in need. I'm Eleisha Foon, journalist and storyteller, and I've learned everyone you walk past has a story, and that story could change your life. So let's crack it open to discover the news in you. The City of Angels became a hellish inferno on January 7th. Wildfires tore through the Los Angeles area, displacing tens of thousands of people and claiming at least 29 lives. Dozens of schools were affected, with some completely destroyed, including Calvary Christian School, which was burned down in the Pacific Palisades fire. The school's principal, Vince Downey, played a crucial role ensuring the safety of hundreds of children by creating a walking school bus to Santa Monica Beach, an evacuation that lasted from 11 a.m. until sunset. Their quick thinking and bravery helped save the lives of hundreds of children, ensuring every child was safely reunited with their parents.
We heard some sirens coming up Palisades Drive. My secretary called me and told me that there's a fire up in the Highlands. And from my office window above us, I could see smoke. And again, this is around 10:30 on January 7th. And within 10, 15 minutes, you could tell the smoke cloud was just getting larger. And by 10:50, 20 minutes later, it was large enough that I was concerned, and the wind was blowing and howling that day, and that wind was heading right in our direction. I was just getting very, very nervous, so I made the decision to evacuate the school with my admin team. We have about 460 kids, age 2, preschool 2, all the way through grade 8. They closed down Palisades Drive. The fire department and the LA Police Department closed down Palisades Drive because they needed to get vehicles up there to fight the fire, and they didn't want cars going up there. So at that time, our parents couldn't get to us, so we made the decision to actually evacuate campus, and there's a fire station around the corner from us. We're about a half mile off the beach, off the ocean, right on Sunset and PCH, and the fire department's probably about half that, so maybe a quarter of a mile. So we started walking all of our students down to the fire station, and we talk about this. What our evacuation plan with an intruder or a fire or something where we have to, again, leave our campus and have our parents pick up on another location. And so our teachers knew the drill, they knew where to go, and they started doing that. I radioed my maintenance team and myself. We walked around the entire campus, checked every classroom, every space to make sure that everyone was off campus safely. And that probably took us about 20 minutes. So now we're probably closer to 11:30, 11:20. And by the time I came down our other driveway, when I walked out on Palisades Drive, there was a small little brush fire that was on the hillside. And I then knew at that point, with the wind blowing, that's going to spread, and we're really in danger. By the time I got down to the fire station, some parents were picking up kids, or all of our teachers and staff were on radios, and we were getting the kids in cars and vehicles. but it was really, traffic was backed up. The LAPD basically had everyone stopped right there on Sunset and Palisades, weren't letting people go up, go down, and it was really a slow move for everybody. I would say about an hour or so after that, by about 12:30, 1 o'clock, the smoke was so bad coming, again, in the hill where it started, through our campus, now over the fire station, smoke and ash, it was getting everyone's eyes. I made the call to move from the fire department down to Gladstone's. Gladstone's actually a restaurant on Sunset and PCH. It's got a huge parking lot, but it's about as close as you can get to the ocean as possible.
Principal Downey and his staff guided every student to the beach, watching as the fire consumed their school and the surrounding areas.
Smoke and ash, it was getting everyone's eyes. I made the call to move from the fire department down to Gladstone's. Gladstone's actually a restaurant on Sunset and PCH. It's got a huge parking lot, but it's about as close as you can get to the ocean as possible. So then at that point, we made a decision to move what students we had left, and we still had probably at that point, still 150 kids with us, and we moved down to Gladstone's parking lot and got down there safely. Then parents were getting to us, and we were loading up more kids. But probably about an hour later, now it's about 1:30 or so, the smoke and the soot and the ash was now coming our way, and that wind was blowing our way all the time. And we felt like it was just not safe to even be there. And we ended up moving down to the Bel Air Bay Club, which is just down the road. Because you could tell it was right down the street. You could see it was clear there, but all the smoke and ash were going right in our faces. And at that point, we didn't have any goggles, or we didn't have any masks or anything, kids or adults. And so we moved down to the Bay Club. And at that point, we were probably down to 50 or 60 kids. And this is now probably about 1:30. I eventually walked the final student out at 2:30. And when I had to walk them all, and this is close to Sunset and PCH, I had to walk the last student down to Temescal because traffic wasn't moving either way at that point. Because again, the fire was so bad. 3.5 hours later, we handed off the last kids. And my faculty and staff I consider them heroes.
The next day, the fires were still burning. But Principal Downey had to see what was left of the school. Was there even anything left standing?
I thought everything was gone, to be quite frank with you. So I rented an e-bike. I live in Santa Monica. I went down the boardwalk and kind of rode my bike up. And that was before the National Guard shut everything down on that Friday. There were still fires happening on Sunset and across the street from us. But I had to get up there. And when I pulled into our parking lot, and I knew the sanctuary was on fire, there was a fire truck and 3 firefighters were putting it out. And then they came down and talked with me and told me a little bit about what their night, I mean, they've been up for hours the whole night, putting out fires and paying attention to our sanctuary, God bless them. And I expected that I would see more of what I was seeing with the sanctuary. And I walked on campus, and the rest of our campus is really standing. I mean, we have some water damage in some of our buildings. Obviously, we have a lot of smoke and soot that need to be removed. There are a couple other areas, a sports court, a preschool play area that's burned. But for the most part, we've been spared. That's my whole community. And I was just bawling in the car just seeing. I mean, it looked like a war zone. It didn't look like a fire. It looked like bombs were dropped on us. And I know everyone has seen the pictures of the different fires, Palisades fire included in that. It's way worse when you actually see it in person. And I've been up there now a couple times, and I'm still just, each time I have the same reaction. I can't drive and see and look without just bawling my eyes off. I think everyone feels it from that area, that Palisades area is such a special place, such a special community in West LA, and we all feel like, at least right now, there's a loss, that we've lost our community because everyone is in so many different places right now. We had 15 staff members and faculty members that lost everything, and they didn't get back to their house, so they didn't get a picture, any passports or any documents. They didn't get clothes or anything because they were there, handing off kids and, making sure they were safe at the end of the day. And I ended up losing 142 of my families, lost their homes and everything, and I have less than 300 families, so over half of our families lost everything, and then I probably have another 50 or 60 that have been displaced and are still not in their homes. It's just a great group of faculty and staff and families and these kids, and I feel so blessed to do what I've been able to do, but it's been hard. It's been hard.
The Pacific Palisades, a neighbourhood tucked between the Santa Monica Mountains and the Pacific Ocean, is unrecognisable. Over 23,000 acres have been destroyed and at least 10,000 structures. But despite the enormous loss, there's been an outpouring of donations and support.
It's just been overwhelming, the amount of love that has been shown to us. People have donated clothes and supplies and offered their homes, and then financial donations. I mean, our church has raised, I think, over $300,000, and we've given all that money away to church families, to school families, and community members around the Palisades that have been affected by these fires. And then we've had other people just step up and help us with materials and supplies. Obviously, we have some big challenges ahead of us. In most cases, you don't have enough insurance to cover the cost of what, new buildings or new spaces are going to cost.
Like a lot of communities across LA, the school has been inundated with donations and support, including from Mosaic, a community of faith who mobilized over 600 volunteers and raised over $700,000. $100,000 was given to Calvary Christian School.
I love the people that I get to be with in West LA, and especially in the Palisades area. And I want that area to come back and be even better than it was, but still keep that community of how close we were, and everyone knowing how special it is where we live. LA can be a tough place. I mean, it's a big city, but it's a special place where we're located. It really is. We're working really hard on getting our campus ready. We already have a big team of people, a restoration company, and all kinds of people on our campus trying to get that back up and running. We'd love to be on that campus back in the fall, and that's our goal. We live in a world right now that we can always make it about us, but I try every day to wake up and make it about other people.
That's exactly what Yealee and Chad Brokaw did the first day of the fires. Despite being displaced by the Pasadena flames, escaping with the clothes on their back, they launched into helping others and making sure their neighbourhood evacuated safely.
I remember the winds being really bad. It was like a hurricane without the water. I got a text from my sister-in-law saying, hey, I have a friend in Pasadena. She's saying that there was a fire that broke out. And we just said, okay, well, there's a fire. We put it out of our mind. And then a little while later, she said, my friend's getting evacuated. And so Chad decided, hey, I'm going to go look, just go check it out, check out the outside. He could see the flames from our backyard. And with the winds being that severe, we knew that fire could come over to our house like in no time. So we both in a panic just kind of packed what we could, not even really thinking, because we're just, what do we do? Individually, he's in his car, I'm in my car, and we're calling everyone we know, all our neighbors, all our friends who live in Pasadena, and we're telling them, hey, you need to get out. You need to get out. So we just kind of sprang into action immediately, just checking on people. And then we came to my mom's place a few cities away, and we've been there ever since.
They returned to their home to assess the damage 2 days later to find their house covered in thick, toxic ash and dust.
It'll take 30 months for homes to be rebuilt, and that's conservatively, being optimistic, because the EPA has to first get involved, and the Army Corps of Engineers have to get involved, and so there's going to be red tape, there's going to be bureaucracy. President Trump's sentiment is states should take care of their own problem, their own mess, right? And then, if you get down into the state and the city level, it's how did we get into this mess in the first place, right? I don't want to become political, but at the end of the day, whether it's due to an administration's inefficiency or lack of, or straight up negligence, at the end of the day, people are hurting and devastated and affected by poor choices, bad management, lack of foresight, lack of resources. And so, we could sit around and wait for the government to help us or be mad at the government, but there's too much work to do. I mean, in the beginning, I was so angry. I wanted Karen Bass to resign. I wanted Governor Newsom to resign. It's criminal, I feel, what they've done, But at the end of the day, we each personally have a responsibility to act.
Chad, who works for Mosaic, has been leading the volunteer army. Every day they continue to deploy teams. They're organising donation drives and coordinating with key leaders across LA to support those in need. Mosaic teams have also assisted with fire recovery efforts, providing ash outs, sifting through debris to recover anything of value for homeowners and renters. Focus has now turned to Altadena's African American neighbourhoods and the additional crisis, the risk of land grabbing. 6 months before the fires, insurers had dropped fire coverage for many homeowners, leaving them with insurmountable damage and rebuilding costs estimated at $350,000 per square foot.
In Pasadena, we have something called the Clergy Community Coalition, and it's unique. It's not really everywhere else, but it brings together pastors, nonprofit organizations, and city officials to sit down and talk about problems of the city. And it's actually where I first heard this, pastor's name, and I finally got to sit down with them. And they talk about the population of Altadena, and it's heavily African American. And there are many of them. Their insurance dropped fire insurance 6 months ago for whatever reasons. It was dropped. And now these horrible fires happen, and their homes are burned to the ground. They don't have insurance. Who's going to rebuild there? Really? Honestly? And then I've already going up are, lots of land for sale. And as soon as those start getting, it's going to be a land grab. And who's going to be living there? Will Altadena, the people that do move back, will it be representative of what it was before the fires?
Right.
And, I'm hearing this, pastor who's African American. I can feel the heartbreak, and my heart's breaking. Like, I just hate it. And you don't have to get political. Like, you hear something that's wrong, it's wrong. So that idea of how do we get loud about something like that, stop it from happening? Because it's going to happen. If we don't do anything, if we don't talk about it, somebody's going to land grab. They're going to build something else up there. These people that owned homes,
For generations.
Yeah. Where does it go? Where do they go?
It's a social justice issue.
More than 7,500 firefighting and emergency personnel were deployed to protect California communities. Chad delivered tents and sleeping bags to many of those crews on the front lines.
And the Los Angeles firefighters are heroes. They were amazing. We want to get together and make them smash burgers. We have a friend that's going to make smash burgers for the different fire stations we've connected with. And his request, Captain Watson, was like, hey, I have 3 pages of restaurants that are going to feed us for the next whatever. Will you bring smash burgers that we would love? Will you bring it when everybody forgets that we fought these fires? And I was like, you hit me up when everyone forgets and you run out of, we'll be there. But I do remember a moment with him when he was talking about that first night when they ran out of water. He's like, here I am, a firefighter. I've been trained for this. I know how to fight fires. And usually you use 4 trucks. You surround the place. 2 trucks are on standby. The other 2 trucks, they're rolling out hoses. They're hooking up, and you fight it from back and front. And then you attack all sides. It's one building. But what do you do when a whole block is on fire? And then the fire is going sideways. It's going in spirals. It's jumping. And each little ember, and he showed me a video of thousands of embers, each one capable of starting its own fire. And then you don't have water. It's like the water towers would either one shut off because there was a power issue. So as soon as you lose power, it shuts so that it stops running the water, or the water tower burned down. The water tower caught fire and burned down. So they were without water, and he's like, here I am in the middle of this without the one weapon a firefighter should have, which is water. He's like, I can't tell you how powerless I felt, and how, I consider myself a very strong man, and, I'm supposed to be there to help people. And he said this with emotion, just like, I needed help. I needed to be like, I need water. We need to figure out how to get a water solution. He's like, I had to ask, there was a firefighter that had been doing this for 50 some years. He's like, what do you think we should do? Have you ever seen anything like this? I've never seen anything. He said, in all my years of firefighting, I've never seen a fire work this way. This is different. Just being in a place where he even felt hopeless or in need. He's like, but I had to. If I didn't ask for help, we would have been in real trouble. But then as soon as I just started asking more people started showing up, churches started showing up, people just started bringing things, volunteer firefighters showed up. We started getting a handle on it. And when I'm having this conversation with them, Eaton Fire is still happening. It was only like, at that time, when I spoke with him, I think it was only 18% contained. Yeah. And he had his men camping up in the mountains to fight the fire. They had been there for 4 days straight.
The fire has been a reminder to people in LA of what matters most. While many people have left the city, displaced and disillusioned, others have decided to stay. A city of angels, rebuilding and carrying hope.
There's this myth that there's shallowness and vanity and selfishness and all that, but, I was very emotional during this whole fire relief, not just hearing about the stories of the devastation people impacted, but just the outpouring of unity and generosity and care by people across the city, whether they believed in Jesus or didn't, whether they went to church or not. Like, it didn't matter, whatever the race, age. I just saw people come out in droves to volunteer, to give of their time, to drop off donations. And to just take care of each other. And it was immediate and it was unanimous. So that was very beautiful to see. And yeah, it was surprising. It reminded me, hey, humanity is still intact, even in a city like LA.
Although it will take years to rebuild what the city of Los Angeles has lost, one thing is for sure. The humanitarian response has reinstated hope in one of Hollywood's greatest times of need.
There's people from all over the United States that showed up, and we've gotten global support. And, it got the attention from everywhere, and people showed up to help people might think what they want to think about Los Angeles, but people are hurting, and people are people. So we're gonna help them. And I think it was really awesome to see us all. We are even now. I just had meetings today where I'm meeting people that I may have not met if it wasn't for the disaster. So even in this tragedy, I think one of the most beautiful things is all these new friendships and finding out that we got each other's back and that we're family. I think the city feels closer than it ever has.
Thank you for listening to The News and You. Your support means the world. So please sign up to the Patreon for exclusive access. If this story impacted you in any way, would you consider sharing the love by giving The News and You a rating and review? I'd love to know, what are your key takeaways? I encourage you to share this with someone because there's power in our stories. So why not send it to them right now? Until next time, remember, your story matters and there's a shared truth behind everything.